you very much for participating in this study. The following presentation is going to give you a greater understanding of how to differentiate between somebody who's telling the truth and somebody who is lying. By the end of this presentation, you will have been presented with the scientific literature on lie detection and will hopefully be able to identify a number of cues which can be indicative of lying. Furthermore, I will also be discussing some of the most common misconceptions held by the public about lie detection. This seminar will hopefully help you become better at telling apart truths from lies. In order to start the discussion about lie detection, we must first define what a lie is. Most of us will have an idea of what lies are. Even though this could be considered general knowledge, it is important to define what exactly we are discussing in this seminar. Depending on your moral understanding of lying, you might describe it differently to your peers. For example, a person who remembers something to be true while it is not lying. Ridge offers a model definition of deception in which he describes it to be a successful or unsuccessful deliberate attempt without forewarning to create in another a belief which the communicator considers to be untrue. It is important to point out here that according to this definition, 1. The deceiver needs to have the intention to deceive, and 2. The deceiver needs to know that what he's telling is untrue. Past studies on deception detection all point towards one conclusion: we are notoriously bad at detecting lies. In general, both novices and professionals have been found to be accurate about 54% of the time, a level which could simply be obtained by chance. It has been argued that the difficulties in detecting lies mainly stem from erroneous beliefs about body language and due to participants paying particular attention to behaviors such as gaze aversion. Surveys investigating what laypersons and specialists rely on when making a judgment about truthful or deceptive statements found that both groups rely on deception cues such as nervous behavior, gaze aversion, and increase in body movements. However, there are some cues which have been found to be helpful when detecting deceit. Liars have been found to show a decrease in behavior stereotypically associated with lying. Two explanations have been offered for this phenomenon. Firstly, it is thought that lying is so cognitively demanding that bodily movements will be neglected by the deceiver. Another common explanation is that liars might put more conscious effort into appearing truthful, as they might be aware that these bodily movements will elicit doubt in the receiver. They will try to suppress these non-essential movements. Recent research indicates that liars are more likely to press their lips together and tend to use fewer hand gestures. Again, fidgeting and gaze aversion did not serve as deception cues, as these behaviors were shown by truth-tellers and liars to the same extent. As the case study of Saddam Hussein's CNN interview showed, when the stakes are high and people want to be believed, they will show a marked decrease in the use of hand gestures when they lie. DiPaolo also found that when individuals are lying, their accounts tend to not make sense or they are structured in an illogical way. Furthermore, liars were more likely to give accounts which were internally discrepant, as well as using the phrase, "I'm not sure," more often. Sometimes liars will make use of a third-person structure rather than a first-person structure. In similar vein, liars were found to often divert from their experiences and speak about their beliefs and intentions in an increased manner. Another feature present in liars is that their voice tends to be higher pitched. However, not all liars will behave in such a way. It is important to consider motivation here. Liars will behave differently depending on how motivated they are to appear truthful. When the stakes are high, liars are more likely to show behaviors which are not consistent with the nervousness they should be feeling at this point. Highly motivated liars have been found to appear more rigid in their behavior. Most of their behavior will be rehearsed and planned. A meta-analysis by Zuckerman and Driver specifically investigated the differences in behavior of motivated and unmotivated liars. On a vocal level, motivated liars spoke with a higher-pitched voice, took longer to finish their sentences, and exhibited more speech hesitations. Their bodies also showed different levels of movements, which motivated liars remaining more still. Another factor influencing the way a liar behaves is the complexity of a lie. The more complex a lie is, the more cognitively demanding it is, which can give rise to a slower speech rate and more speech errors. The above presented picture is part of a credibility assessment tool, which is used to help psychologists assess the truthfulness of an account. First, the number of sensory, auditory, spatial, and temporal details provided are assessed. The more detailed an account is, the more likely it is to be true. The next one is admitted lack of memory. Individuals are more likely to admit to lack of memory when they are telling the truth, as a liar would not want to raise suspicion in this way. When speaking the truth, people will spontaneously correct themselves more frequently as they remember an event. Now we are going to listen to a recording. Please listen carefully and think about the cues we have discussed.
Could you also give me an example of a time you faced a challenge and you had to overcome it?
Yeah. We were sent to Rome, what's going on right now with immigration. There are a lot of people that are being asked to go to the south of Italy to volunteer and to help the government with immigrants coming from the Middle East. And that's such a difficult time right now. A lot of people do not want to volunteer, so government tries to give money to charity organizations like the Red Cross, for example, Salvation Army here in the UK. And we were put in this program, and we were sent to Rome in this camp, and it was really difficult. We had you could get in touch with a lot of emotional stories and people that went through a lot. And yeah, it was a hard time. Our work, our job was based on giving them food, distributing food and stuff like that, giving blankets to people during the night. What else? Yeah, that was basically it.
And how long did you stay there for?
We have been there for 1 week. Yeah, and then we were sent back to Milan, and another group took over the camp.
Okay. Did you make friends with any of the refugees there?
Yeah, mostly with women, because we were got separated. The males work with male refugees, while the females with women. And every time you would get in touch with one of them, they would thank you or tell you their stories. So it was yeah, you make friends in that moment. So if you want to call it friendship, then yeah, I would say somebody that changed you forever. That stranger that would tell you something randomly, and you might never see him or her again.
Okay.
As you can hear, the interviewee is speaking rather slowly. When asked whether she made any friends at the refugee camp, she talks about her attitudes towards friendship rather than giving more details. She also took longer to start answering the follow-up questions, so therefore there are a number of reasons to believe that she was lying. However, this is not to say that there are no signs that she might be telling the truth. For example, the pitch of her voice appears rather low, which would be an indication of her telling the truth. If we had to come to a conclusion in this case, it would be reasonable to suggest that she's lying, as more cues point towards this being the case. Here I summarized all of the main points to consider when trying to detect lies. 1. Consider the circumstances. Did the person have a chance to rehearse what they are lying about? Are they motivated to appear credible? 2. Focus on certain verbal cues of deception, higher pitched voice, less detailed description, slower speech rate. In order to give an idea under what conditions the interviewees gave their account, I am also going to include some information about them. They are young adults who have volunteered to take part in preparing a stimulus for a lie detection study. The interviewees were given 2 minutes to prepare their answer. However, they were not able to prepare for the follow-up questions. So, I hope this helped you gain some insight into lie detection and a scientific background to this. Here are my references in case you're interested in some of the research.